forum, right? That's how we're going to take the session. Myself, Venkatesh Chaturvedi, I'm a senior consultant at Samagra. I've been with the firm for about 3 years now. I'm currently working in the CEO's office, handling outreach and marketing, handling recruitments, and handling special initiatives for the organization, right? I graduated from ISB and have worked previously with An Academy as a category manager. I would hand over the floor to Pooja, my associate, for a quick introduction, and then subsequently Manisha to take over and take us through the presentation.
Hi everyone. Thanks for joining in. It's lovely to see, few videos on. I would really request everyone to, put on your videos. It will be great interacting with you. So I'm Pooja. I've been working with Samagra for over 2 years now. I'm working in recruitment domain. So yeah, before Samagra, I was part of Praxis Global Alliance and was handling, HR operations and recruitment process there as well. Now I'll pass on to Manisha to take over.
Great. Thank you, Venkatesh. Thank you, Pooja. Good evening, everybody. Happy to see some serious, some light-hearted faces. And before I begin with the session, a little bit about myself, right? So that you're also able to relate with my journey. I, like most people, did not know what trajectory to take, and that you'll see through my decisions. And I started off from a physics major, then I ventured into a private sector with EY, then again dabbled my hands into startup, was bubbling with a lot of entrepreneurial energy. Did that for about a year, burnt all the money that I had, and then I realized that I do need some management skills, and that's when I entered IIM Ahmedabad. Luckily, got through. But then when I got through, I think it was very clear that I want to build for Bharat, and I want to be closer to where India is. And what better place to know about India than to be in sales and than to be on the field. So I joined HUL as the sales manager. Did that for about 3 years. My last stint was that of the modern trade manager for entire Delhi NCR for all categories. But there was this always unsettling fire in the belly to be able to contribute meaningfully with all the education that I have been lucky to get, and so many people don't, and wanted to make something systemic so that it really gives back to the community. And Samagra is what I stumbled upon through one of the agriculture programs. So it was a full circle. And it's been about 2.5 years in Samagra. I've been in the leadership for over 1 year now, and I'm handling 3 large-scale transformation programs in Odisha. So the 3 pieces that I'm working on are cross-cutting across domains. First is agriculture. The second is scheme benefit delivery for mining affected regions. And the third is women economic empowerment, right? So that's where I am at. I'd be happy to take any questions on this journey aspect also later. But now I'm going to do a presentation, and this is going to be more one way. We would obviously would have liked it to be more engaging on the go, but because of the limitations of the setup, I'm going to be speaking for about 20-25 minutes. And I would really request you to be as active on the chat as possible, because the more you're asked, the more it'll become clear for your journey, potential journey in Samagra. So it's going to be a presentation for about 20-25 minutes, and then we're going to extend till as long as we can to take up the questions. So I'm going to share the screen, and I would request Venkatesh to confirm if the screen becomes visible. Could you confirm if the screen is visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So before I begin, I'd actually like to start the entire conversation with a short video, because that really gives you a glimpse. I have enabled the sound. Again, I would request if somebody could, Venkatesh could confirm. Is the sound also coming, Venkatesh?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Introducing Sangeeta, Shivansh, and Sarita. Sangeeta is a small-scale farmer in the Puri district of Odisha who earns a little over 1 lakh per annum. Shivansh is a grade 3 student in the Unnao district of Uttar Pradesh who is a great competent student. Sarita is a contractual Group D employee in the Rewari district of Haryana who currently avails a monthly salary of roughly 15,000 rupees. But the lives of Sangeeta, Shivansh, and Sarita weren't always like this. A few years back, Sangeeta dreamt about having a better life for her family by being able to increase her annual income. Similarly, Shivansh dreamt about performing well in his class by being able to easily read and solve basic maths. And Sarita, she dreamt about getting her monthly salary on time.
Sangeeta, Shivansh, and Sarita are not alone. Almost each and every Indian aspires for a better tomorrow. At Samagra, we've made that as a mission to improve the quality of life of citizens through better governance. For far too long as a country, we've had a lot of potential. It's high time now that we realize that potential. If we have to become a developed country or a Viksit Bharat by the time we turn 100, it's imperative that we meet the aspirations of our 150 crore people. We firmly believe that governance is a key lever of change. We also believe that if India has to transform from a governance perspective, it has to be state by state by state, with Government of India playing an important role. Therefore, we are focused on working with the political executive and the bureaucratic leadership across states in India on deep system reforms or systemic transformations. We started off with a very different model, which was we used to work with MPs and MLAs and support them with different aspects of constituency development. So, jahan se bhi wo elect ho rahe hain, how do we facilitate development in that region? So, we started working with MPs across party lines in different states in the country. This was 2014, part of 2015. The larger learning from that phase was state is where we can really conceptualize, design things, and at the same time have very direct control on implementation. So, we pivoted in 2015 to our current model. Where we work with the political and the bureaucratic leadership at the state level. Our approach over the years has been a combination of three things: a top-down management consulting approach for problem structuring, a very grounds-up understanding of the governance ecosystem for solution design, and appropriate use of technology and data to enable the large-scale implementation of those solutions. We really believe when these three things come together, that's when magic happens. And this approach is manifested in the day-to-day working of our teams.
Our USP in working with governments is threefold. First, the ability to come up with practical solutions that are implementable at scale. Second, the ability to drive large-scale change management in government systems. And finally, the third, the ability to leverage technology to push the envelope in governance.
We work with the state when there's a clear pull. That means there's political will on a topic, and there's a bureaucratic champion who's been mandated to drive the transformation. Once the pull is there, then we co-create a transformation roadmap together with the state. These transformation roadmaps are often a combination of policy unlocks, administrative or management levers, technical or domain-specific interventions, and technology enablers. And then we're there through a 3 to 5 year period to catalyze the implementation of this roadmap till the time statewide measurable outcomes are achieved and things become sustainable in the system.
Based on this model, over the years, we have worked on 25 plus systemic transformation programs, cutting across geographies and domains such as agriculture, school education, benefit delivery, skilling and employment, healthcare, financial inclusion, and so on. For instance, our work in agriculture in Odisha has impacted more than 75 lakh farmers in the state.
In 2018, there was an outbreak that affected most of the state's paddy crop. We're working with Samagra. They started to register those farmers. And now they literally have a control center. You know, when you walk in, you think, wow, this is agriculture, but you know, you've got a command center and maps and people doing queries and sending out messages. I felt very much at home.
Similarly, our work in Haryana on benefit delivery impacted all the 2.7 crore citizens of the state.
गौरव गोयल जी का अपना एक बहुत बड़ा सहयोग इसमें हमको मिला। चीजों को कैसे एफिशिएंट करना, कैसे फास्ट करना, कैसे नए आइडिया, कैसे टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ इसको आगे जोड़ना बढ़ाना, इनकी पूरी टीम।
All our systemic transformation programs are powered by Samagra X, the umbrella under which we do all our GovTech and data gov work. We have also embarked on a gov.ai mission through which we aim to drive at-scale use cases of AI in governance in India over the next decade. We really believe in the power of AI to enable personalization at scale and to meet the needs of our diverse citizens where they are. Beyond all of this core work, we believe that the best minds in the country are needed to solve the complex governance challenges that India is facing today. Toward this end, we are driving a couple of ecosystem initiatives that are aimed at galvanizing the young, bright minds of India towards the governance space. The governance challenge is one such initiative. It is a unique competition targeted at students studying in the topmost postgraduate institutes across the country, which sensitizes them towards the governance space in an immersive manner. Code for GovTech or C4G2 is another such initiative that is capitalizing a community of open source contributors and connecting them to organizations that are either building or adopting digital public goods across the country.
Over the years, in collaboration with governments and multiple other partners, lives of Sangeeta, Shivansh, Sarita, and crores of citizens like them have been impacted through our work. And now we are focused on making our contribution towards the Viksit Bharat. Come join us in this journey and commit yourself to nation building. As we say at Samagra, राष्ट्र निर्माण के यज्ञ में हमारी भी एक कहानी होनी चाहिए.
Great. So that would have sparked a little bit of your imagination in the kind of work that we are doing and the kind of flavor of the approach that we're doing. What I'll try and do is really double click on each of the aspects through the presentation. So starting with the basics, right? Who are we as a firm? You would have heard about consulting firms, but where does Samagra really tie into that space? So Samagra, as we say, that we are a mission-driven governance consulting firm. Now there are a few terms, right? Mission-driven. The mission that we have picked up as at Samagra is that we want to improve the quality of life of citizens through better governance, right? And that quality of life can be across domains. We don't pick and choose a particular domain. We're domain agnostic. But the mission largely is to improve the quality of life of all the citizens in India. We're a governance consulting firm. So we work, as you would have noticed in the video also, the unit of change that we work with is at the state administration levels where the bureaucrats sit. We exclusively work with governments. We don't have private ecosystem clients. We just work with the state government unit. And that's why we're called a governance consulting firm. And we are a consulting firm because we are, in that sense, providing our consultancy services to the bureaucrats who's sitting at the state level. So that's primarily who we are. Now, let's look at our approach briefly. What is the overall overarching problem approach that we take when we're working with the states? So it's a threefold approach. The first is that at the top level, to be able to structure these ambiguous problem statements that we take, we do a top-down management consulting approach for structuring the right problems to be able to break it down into smaller chunks. We combine that with a bottom-up understanding of the governance ecosystem. What does the user want? What are the officials that we are working with? What are their needs? And there's a very, very entrenched understanding of the governance ecosystem that we build as opposed to it just being armchair consulting. And to bridge the two, we really bridge them using data and technology to be able to deliver the solutions that we come up with. So that sums up our solution approach. Now, coming to what do we do? What are the kind of problem statements that we are currently working with? Some that you would have heard and would read about in your newspapers almost every single day are topics that are also on the screens. For example, first one, where we are reimagining courts in India through our work in Kerala with the judiciary, where you would know that the pendency in the courts is Congress, right? And if that pendency has to really get streamlined and has to improve, then there is a step function jump that is required in judiciary. And we are trying to enable that through digital courts, always on digital courts in our work in Kerala. And there's a pilot that we've successfully been able to run in Kollam district. And now we want to scale it up to other relevant cases as well as to other states. The second example on the screen is improving student learning outcomes. Now, you would hear a lot about the foundational literacy in grades 1 and 2, but not a lot of states have been able to embark on the mission successfully and being able to deliver it. So we're working with UP, the Department of Basic Education, and we're trying to really improve what are the student learning outcomes. So we're not working on the input that let's just get the attendance up. We're really working on the end outcome of the learning levels themselves being high. And I'm going to double click on this program also in a while on this problem statement in particular, but that's for later. The third example here is on really overhauling the scheme and benefit delivery through the work that we've recently picked up in Andhra Pradesh, where we're trying to streamline the overall benefit delivery through getting all the systems, the different scheme databases that sit in the department's houses, consolidating all of them, and then on top of that, really building what is the citizen-facing experience that can be built there. And the fourth example is one of the pieces that I'm currently leading on agriculture, where we're trying to get the farmer's income to more than double, triple levels, right? So this is just to give you a quick flavor of the kind of problem statements that we give. If I have to also then take the zoomed out lens on where we are at in the landscape of current programs. So there are roughly 12 programs which are listed on the screens, and the domains they cross-cut across benefit delivery, agriculture, livestock, education, judiciary, health, and women empowerment. Important thing to note is, again, which is what I mentioned at the start of the presentation, that we are domain agnostic. We don't particularly pick and choose a certain domain, because that's a question that I keep getting from students, from professionals, that if you want to transform a certain domain, then what do you do? We really rely on what the bureaucracy wants to transform for their particular department, for their particular state, and then we figure out if that is worthy enough for the goal to be taken at a large scale, and then we go ahead with it. Currently, this happens to be the domain mix that we are currently operating at. And this is the geographical mix. So we are primarily present in the 5 states, which is what is listed here. So Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, and Kerala. And one cross-cutting initiative, which is C4GT, that you would see, that's more at a central level and cross-cuts across the country, right? But if you look at even the geographical mix, there is a very good mix that we have in terms of southern parts being covered, in terms of western and eastern being covered, and northern parts also being covered. So there is a good flavor of the citizen mix that we are working for and the user mix that we are working for, apart from the domain mix as well. Right. Now the real question, okay, all of this sounds great, but all of this also sounds far more ambitious. How do you go about solving this, and what is it that I will be contributing to as a listener? Now let's look at one example. How do we really go about solving these problems? So I'll take the example of Nipun, where that the goal that we are working on with the Department of Basic Education in Uttar Pradesh is that we want to ensure that all government schools in grades 1 and 2, government students in grades 1 and 2 in UP, they become FLN competent. FLN here means foundational literacy and numeracy. They know how to read and they know how to do basic math. That's what FLN competency means. And we've also put a date to it. So by March 2027, right? So the goal in itself would tell you that we've taken a quantifiable goal. It's a measurable goal. And it also comes with a certain timeline. So it's not a never-ending Panchvarshya Yojana that most of us know about in the governments. It's a very targeted, specific goal that needs to be met within a certain timeline. How do we go about it? So if this is the goal, then we go about creating what are the levers and what are the kind of interventions that will help us achieve this goal. The process of coming up with those is that you do a very, very good, thorough secondary research, which is that our desk work should be very robust. After that, we come up with certain hypotheses. Those hypotheses get tested with all the system actors. And by system actors, I really mean the users across the board in terms of the hierarchy of the state machinery being there, as well as the end users being there. Then we do these hypotheses validation on the ground. We go on the field, we test certain solutions. We see what's working, what's not working, what are the constraints of the officials, and then we co-create a certain set of interventions which we feel are the most important ones to achieve this goal. So while I'm presenting those pillars to you, the important thing to keep in mind, there is 100 things that can be done here, but we have to shortlist the most critical things that will help us achieve that particular goal that can happen through the government machinery. So if this is the goal for Nipun, what we did was the first key pillar that we realized was that this goal has to reach the unit of change. The unit of change in this case is the government school. And the touch point that we have in the government school is whom? It's the teacher. So the teacher should really know what the goal is. It shouldn't be a goal that gets written in a strategy document at the state level and does not get passed down. So we created a concept of Nipun Lakshya. And by Nipun Lakshya, we really broke down what does FLN competency mean. These are the 5 things that you have to chase for the student to be called FLN competent. So that's what we call Nipun Lakshya, almost a checklist, very simple, consumable, to provide that right goal and role clarity to the unit of change touch point that we have, in this case being teachers, right? And the same goal clarity again did not stop at the teacher, it got cascaded at all levels. So above the teacher, then there are mentors. Above the mentors, there are block principals. Then there are block level officials. Then there are district level officials. Then there are state level officials. So across the board, the goal kept getting cascaded, so that between the state and to the last mile worker, there is no mismatch, right? That's the first pillar that we picked. The second pillar that we picked was giving the right inputs for the teacher to feel confident that I can make my children FLN competent. If you just announce a goal, and if you even give them the checklist, they should not feel helpless, but they should feel empowered that I am also being given the right inputs, which make me feel confident that I will be able to teach my students and make them FLN competent. So 3 things we did there. A, structured pedagogy. How do you even teach? That's what's called pedagogy. So we created certain modules which explained how the teaching can be made more effective. Then there were robust teacher trainings that were conducted on the ground. And third was supportive supervision by the mentor cadre, so that I am able to get feedback on my teaching in a very real-time manner. So that's the first layer that we felt that this is a very, very critical layer. And alongside each of the buckets that you see on the screen, there are multiple threads of work that would be happening, but this is what you're seeing at a bucketed how pillar level, right? The second pillar under this is measurement. Now I am more equipped, I know my goal, I feel confident I can do it, but during the academic year, which is a year long, should I wait till the end to know that my student is FLN competent, or do I keep checking the progress in between? The answer is the latter, very, very logically. But if you look at the current landscape, the only tool that the teachers have is to create an assessment themselves, the question papers themselves, and then measure them. And there is a lot of subjectivity that is involved even in my assessment, right? How is a child reading? How is the child writing? I will give subjective marks. So there was a need for a measurement tool which is a real time, second which removes all of that subjectivity out, and third which delivers on speed, for which we created Nipun Lakshya app in collaboration with Google Read Along. So we integrated that technology, we integrated that in the teacher's application in itself. All that the teacher had to do was ask it to generate questions, and the voice of the student will get recorded, and at the end of the assessment, it will show whether the child was FLN competent or not. It's as simple as that. So really giving the thermometer in the hand of the teacher. The third layer that we felt was extremely critical, and maybe some of you will resonate with it, because we do keep hearing about the front level workers not feeling motivated in the jobs that they're doing. So you've given them the inputs, you also tell them how to measure, but what will it spark joy or motivation in me? Not necessarily. And therefore, a critical lever for us was to create the right motivation levers for them. So for that, we created 2 properties. One was Nipun Vidyalaya. Nipun Vidyalaya essentially was that you can really raise your hand and nominate your school if you feel that your school has become FLN competent. And once your school becomes Nipun Vidyalaya, there is a Samman Mahotsav that happens, right? Samman Samaroh that happens. Your victory gets celebrated publicly. You get certificates from your district collectors, you get recognized amongst your peers. So there's a lot of pride that is associated with Nipun Vidyalaya being given to them. Apart from that, there was also Nipun Ghoshna, where these teachers again would be called out for their contributions. So that's the motivation here. And tying all of this together, all of this is for the teachers, but at the state level, we need visibility on how each of these inputs, outputs, and outcomes are being measured. So there was a review and monitoring layer that was created, where the cascaded data backed reviews were happening based on the outcomes that we were capturing from the application. The district collectors would review the block officials would review the principals, headmasters, they would review their teachers. So there is the entire cascade of reviews happening. There was a decentralized NBMC dashboard. NBMC is Nipun Bharat Monitoring Center. I'm going to speak about it in a while. So there was a dashboard centralized at all levels where they could see their progress. I am at any given point in time can see how the state is performing, how this district is performing, which are the bottom boxes that I need to pull up. And lastly, all of that getting tied and the efforts being supplemented through a helpline, which is Vidya Samiksha Kendra, where the call center operators would make calls to the laggard and the bottom boxers, right? Anything that needs to be done in the field, communication is really the repeated communication, rather, is the way to go about it. Follow up is the language of execution. And in this case, also, we did physical workshops to iterate the same thing again and again on WhatsApp groups. Proactive updates were shared, the trackers were shared at a set frequency so that it really gets drilled down and becomes part of the larger mission. And to be able to also see that happening on ground, not just doing the communication from the state, we have a concept called district ownership, where each of the team members, all the program associates, people who will be joining us, they'll be owning certain district outcomes. So we divide these districts. In UP's case, there are, let's say, 80 districts. So those get divided amongst the team members, and the team members go on the districts. Every month they have to do 2 districts, and they drive the KPIs. They drive whether how many Nipun Vidyalayas have they been able to get. What are the kind of input delivery that's happening? Are the reviews happening on time or not, right? So that's really the theory of change of Nipun Bharat. To ensure that this goal gets met, there are so many moving parts that you have to rightfully pick. Could have been others also, but these are the ones which move the needle. They have been robustly tested, they have been robustly researched about. So that's how we go about breaking a problem statement down and then creating a theory of change for it, right? Now, if we have to do something at scale and at such a scale, there is an important role that technology plays. And you would have also seen that in the video where we mentioned in the approach bit that we use extensive tech and data to be able to bridge that gap and also deliver at scale. And what is the arm that supports us? In-house, we have the arm called Samagra X, which basically bridges governance and technology. Under this arm, the X team, as we call it, primarily does 2 things. First is designing the right product. So that product could be this monitoring app that I spoke about, which is Nipun Lakshya app. How do you design it? How do you get the design right for a teacher? Is it user friendly? How does it look? Does it capture the right outcomes? Does it give her the sense of confidence in terms of just looking at one glance? Is it easy to use, difficult? All of that product design in itself happens in-house. And then there is ongoing tech management. So across the board, governments are already working on certain tech portals. So how do we ensure seamless tech management across both of them? Apart from the core job that we are doing, we also ventured into AI use cases under a property that we were looking at, which is gov.ai. So we were really picking the right kind of AI use cases, and one of our programs also currently is AI powered, which AI powered Odisha, which is one of the threads that we are working on the cutting edge of the technology in the AI governance space. Right. So let me share examples of each of them. How did we go about it? So first example, which is a product design example, is Nipun Bharat Monitoring Center, right? So all the system actors that we spoke about in Nipun Bharat mission, they needed to have this consolidated data-backed visibility. So the dashboards that you see on the right-hand side of the screen, it had a login for each of the administrative units level, and they were able to visualize it in a very simple manner where their current progress stands. Now, while that's the front end of it, designing the front end, but at the back end, it requires a lot of database integrations, right? So real-time integration from Nipun Lakshya app, real-time integration from the teacher's attendance app, from the pedagogy app, from the curriculum app, from the state MIS. So five such data sources had to come together to be able to calculate this KPI. Then there had to be a user-centric and very simple data visualization that gets cascaded. So that's one example of the product design. Then coming to the AI use cases, so these are the three which we've been able to implement at scale. First is Nipun Lakshya app. Now, where is AI coming in it? AI is coming in it to generate unique questions every single time, right? So if you give the same set of questions to the child, they almost get used to answering the same. They learn the answers basically. So how do you use AI to be able to generate unique questions based on the criteria that you feed in? That's where the AI use case of Nipun Lakshya app in Uttar Pradesh was live. Currently in Odisha, Farmers Unified Portal is live, where we've been able to get a chatbot customized and trained on the state data and made it live for the farmers to ask about whether it's weather details, scheme details, or any plant protection details that they need. And the third one, which happened this year, which is Kumbh Sahayak. So in Kumbh, we had activated our chatbot where the citizens could ask anything under the sun in certain categories, because Kumbh in itself is humongous. There is a lot of information that is out there, but how do you consolidate the most useful information and also make it accessible to any visitor who's coming? So those were the three examples of AI and governance use cases. Apart from tech being a critical part, you would have also noticed that I am talking a lot about the user. So apart from X working with us, there is another team that closely collaborates with the program team, which is our in-house design team. Now, what is the role of the design team? The design team really enables good user research so that we are able to know our citizen really well. We're able to know our user really well and are able to drive the behavioral change, because all the programs at the end of the day are going to require a new way of life being taught or being delivered to the citizens. So doing that right user-centric solutioning is very important. An example of that is in RBIH. So RBIH is an entity which is RBI Innovation Hub. And there we had extensively worked on gig workers particularly, and wanted to understand in those gig workers, let's look at the saving patterns of the rural women. So we were able to conduct extensive user research where 130 plus people were interviewed. We were then able to call out what are some 3 or 4 personas based on the most critical variables, and then able to design the targeted intervention. So in this case, we were able to come up with 4 sets of personas which were not overlapping, which were unique. So first was return maximizer, then there was loan saver, small savers. These are all examples. And you would also see that how it's so important to capture the language in which the user also talks to be able to really drive the saving behavior. Ultimately, that was the goal, and this is one part of the work stream that we did. Right. So that's summing up who we are as Samagra, what's our approach, also breaking it down in one problem statement. Now, give certain examples of the programs also, but there are 6 common characteristics that you would see across our programs. First is, which is the prerequisite and will answer a lot of the questions that I anticipate, that we don't go and push ahead our programs. There has to be a strong government pull, a strong CM mandate, Chief Minister's mandate, or a solid champion bureaucrat who wants to do certain transformation for their department for a particular state, right? So that's That's the prerequisite. Think of this as a prerequisite. Without that, the engagement in itself cannot begin. The second is that our fees does not come from the government. We don't participate in government tenders. We take our fees from the philanthropic funding. Now, these philanthropics can be domestic, international. You would have heard of some of them: Gates Foundation, Michael and Susan Dell Foundation. So these are the examples, and certain pockets of CSR, which is what we're trying to unlock, but primarily comes from the philanthropic funding sources and not by the government. Third, that there is a very small team that we place at the state level to drive all the outcomes. We are not substituting for the capacity of the government. There's a small team that gets attached to the department at the state level and uses the government machinery and the state and department machinery to be able to drive these outcomes till the last mile. So it does not mean that if it's such a small team, that how are they driving it to the last mile, because we're doing it through the officials which are already embedded in the hierarchy of the state. The fourth one, that we co-create a 2 to 4 year comprehensive roadmap. These are not short projects. Most of our programs, in fact, 80 to 90% of the programs in the examples that you saw, 100% of them are long-term program and engagements which last anywhere between 2 to 4 years, and not short-term projects, because outcomes take time. And we've always taken that outcome lens and impact lens at Samagra. The fifth one is that what is really our role? Are we working on things, for example, foundation literacy and numeracy? There's a lot of micro innovation that we are doing in terms of application. But are these things that the government cannot do? The answer is yes, but the government will be able to do the same thing in 10 years. The role that Samagra is playing is that we catalyze this implementation through the government machinery. We want to be able to achieve that outcome by March 2027. When the government would have planned such an ambitious mission, they would have done it in 10 years. So how can we accelerate and catalyze the government implementation is the lens that we keep. And the last one is that we stay the course until our outcomes are achieved and sustained. So if foundational literacy and numeracy is the goal and the outcome that we are working towards, we'll continue to stay the course, whether that means extension of the engagement, whether that means facing certain hurdles in terms of changes in bureaucracy, changes in leadership, and so on. So we stay the course until the outcomes are achieved and sustained. And now a question that it will strike a lot of you is that what sets Samagra apart? Why Samagra in that sense? So there are 4 factors. First is just the scale of the programs, right? In all the examples that I shared, you would have noticed I'm talking about statewide. I'm talking about all citizens. So it wasn't that I'll pick 10% of the FLN grade students. It was 100% of the universe. It was 100% of the government schools of UP. So the scale of the program in itself is millions of citizens. So imagine you having a work stream that impacts, even if it's the smallest work stream, it can impact millions of lives. The scale of the programs is what sets it apart. We were not doing pilots, we're not doing it for one district, we're doing statewide transformation. The second, which actually for a lot of people who have a knack for delivery, it's very critical that we don't just do designing of the strategy. It's not just a piece of report or a thought piece that will get published, but it's designing the strategy in a way that it will get implemented. In fact, the design in itself is baked in with the practical lens that this needs to get implemented. So it's strategy plus implementation experience that you're going to get at Samagra. The third one is that while core consulting skills in terms of them being there in other organizations, also the consulting frameworks that you will see, they themselves are customized for governance and are customized also to India in a lot of ways. So these aren't your international frameworks which can be force fitted in the context of India, but they are frameworks which are designed for Bharat, which are designed for governance exclusively. So that in itself is a different experience. Plus, along with that, you also get product experience under the Samagra X arm. And the last one is just the diversity of stakeholders that you work with. You're working with the bureaucrat IAS, you're working with the chief minister's office, but you're also working with the ecosystem partners. So in ecosystem partners, you could be collaborating with a private startup for doubling the farmers' income to enabling their access. You're also reaching out to the funding partners for that thought partnership. So there is a huge variety of stakeholders that you would deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? And what is it that a program associate, any team member who joins us, works on? So let's quickly look at the structure and the construct first. So at the top, we have the leadership. So Gaurav Goyal, he's the CEO and founder. Rahul Kulkarni, he's the chief technologist who's been guiding us overall. So that's the senior leadership. Then right below the senior leadership, we have a program lead. So for each of the programs that you saw on the screen, the 12 programs that I spoke about, there will be a program lead mapped to it. The program lead will be leading a team of typically 4+1. So by 4+1, I mean one program coordinator or manager. And then there are program associates, 4 program associates, which I have 100% fully stationed there. A program lead typically handles 2 to 3 programs, and that's why you would see 33% being devoted there. And on the two sides, the two verticals that we spoke about, which was the design vertical and the X vertical, which are closely collaborating with the program teams. So anybody who joins us, no matter what designation are they joining us at, joins us at the bottom layer, which is the program associate layer. Because we really believe that one person has to grow in the firm through the journey that starts at the program associate level. So typically a program associate, let's say in this larger theory of change, would be working on teacher training as one of the work streams and Nipun Lakshya app as the second work stream, or Vidya Samiksha Kendra as the third work stream, right? So some of these can be picked up by a certain team member, right? And in general, while you're picking and working on these work streams, there are skills that each of the program associates will be made adept with and will learn on the job, which are listed on the screen. So really robust problem solving to be able to understand what does it even mean to be able to design a monitoring center, a Vidya Samiksha Kendra. So problem solving for that. Product management. How does this product look like for the teachers? How does the Nipun Lakshya app look like the teacher? How do I convince the stakeholders? So stakeholder management. And lastly, a lot of district field visits and field work. So that's how your life largely is going to look like. And I'm going to also sum all of it up. While some of the answers you would have already pieced it together, but let me make it explicit on why should you be at Samagra. So again, there are 4 reasons. First, that it's a lot of studies now are showing that Gen Z, especially and the newer generations that are coming, they look for more purposeful work and not just the work that looks shiny from the outside. This is work with meaning. So this highly impactful work, you get a satisfaction at the end of the day that you've contributed something to the larger mission of nation building, and your work stream has contributed to the goal of the program, right? So that's first. The second is, because you're going to be working with so many stakeholders on such ambiguous problem statements, your mental application, your mental faculties will be engaged throughout. So there is a steep learning curve that you'll be going through. If I take my example, 2.5 years back, I joined as a program associate, and now I'm the program lead for 3 programs, right? So that's really the norm that we want all our people to grow at the pace with. The third one is fast growth, like I was sharing from my example in itself. So it's not just professional learning that I've gotten, but I've also grown in the organization in terms of the designation. And lastly, just the kind of like-minded people that you will get, you'll feel at home. That there is no politics, there's no competition, everybody's secure, everybody feels for impact, everybody has a hunger and drive to be able to contribute meaningfully. So you'll also have the right kind of support through your peers, right? Here, I'll hand it over to Venkatesh for him to take over the specific things about the recruitment cycle in itself. So over to you, Venkatesh. I can help
Yes.
navigate, or in case you want to share, that's also all right.
Yeah, Manisha, I think you can bring all the elements on the screen because we are short of time as well.
Sure.
So I'll quickly cover this aspect, folks. So I think a lot of you have asked the questions. So the next three slides will cover a lot of them, right? So and then subsequently we'll obviously we'll be taking we have compiled all the questions at one place and we'll be addressing many of them. So the idea essentially is we are hiring for three specific roles, which is associate, senior associate, and an emerging leader. So these are, as you would have understood by now, designations, right? So designation are a function of say previous years of experience you have had, right? The way the interviews have gone and the way the judgment of the interviewer is on how your trajectory at Samagra is going to look like, right? So therefore, once you apply, right, you're applying. So therefore, you on the form you will not see that you're applying for a senior associate or you're applying for a consultant. So there's no drop down for you to choose your role. That gets decided based on the interview, based on previous experience, based on the competencies that you already have, and so on and so forth. And therefore, the idea is which designation you start with will be determined in due course of time in the interview itself. So that's one thing I like to upfront mention. The associate and the senior associate typically you can say that are people with 0 to 3 years of experience, and their trajectory is what you can see that in 3 to 6 years they can become consultant or senior consultant by designation. In 6 to 8 years, managers and senior managers, and after 8 years, VP or senior VP kind of designations is what you could get, and that's how it's a very fast track trajectory of growth. Emerging leader, as mentioned, is a specific role. So for associate and senior associate, the minimum criteria is 18 months requirement of work experience. Next, when I say work experience requirement, a lot of you ask the question. I'll upfront mention we don't look at you should have prior consulting experience, you should have prior development experience, you should be working here, you should be working there. No, we are looking at generalist, and therefore you could be a product manager previously, but a hunger for problem solving, and that should be good enough, right? So idea is we don't therefore look for any specific archetypes of people applying for the roles, right? That's one thing. For the emerging leader, it's a role which is basically a fast track trajectory into a program coordinator, right? So therefore, the idea essentially is that an emerging leader is typically a person with a minimum 34 months of experience, total experience, right? And MBA from a tier one institute, right? The person will come in, work as a program associate only in terms of the roles. So they will be handling these work streams only for some time. And within 1 or 1.5 years, they will be fast tracked into a program coordinator role. And by that virtue, they become a senior consultant in designation. And then the journey unfolds as mentioned here. One of the key things at Samagra for consulting track also is that the profit sharing, which typically in other firms happen at a partner level, starts at a senior consultant designation itself. And therefore, that's also one value prop for all of you to understand. Can we go ahead, Manisha? Now, in terms of yes. So what are we looking for? Some of you asked the kind of skills that we are looking for. The underlying theme that we look for is impact orientation, which means that zeal, that hunger to make an impact in the lives of citizens and people. Right? That's one of the core themes. Right now, that could be because of, say, your prior experience in some areas, or may not be. That we don't therefore look at anchor it on that. Okay, you've worked in impactful work previously, and therefore we should hire you. No, no, nothing of that sort. If you are able to convince in the interview that yeah, I worked as an investment banker, but I feel for the citizens of people and I want to pivot. That's sometimes a good enough argument, right? The other three things are practical problem solving, which we kind of test through the case-based interviews that will come your way, right? Interpersonal skills, because as you have understood, you are interacting with very diverse set of stakeholders, right? IS officers, district magistrates, block officers, NGO founders, implementation partners, funding partners. Therefore, interpersonal skills, communication skills, written communication skills is all very important requirement, right? And organizational fit, which basically means behavioral traits. Do you have the growth mindset? Are you ready to learn? Are you eager to go the extra mile? Because those are the things that we look for. And with that comes also the idea of high rigor, right? I like to mention that upfront that this is a pure rigorous consulting environment you're going to work with, right? So the notions of um, uh, you know of 9 to 5 is not going to happen, right? It's not that kind of a role at all. It's a rigorous consulting environment. It's a highly mentally stimulating work that you do for 12, anywhere between 12 to 13 hours a day, right? So that's the kind of expectation you should be coming with, right? So it's a very rigorous environment that you'll be working in, because we are punching above the weight. Small teams kind of, doing things completely in the state, right? And the last slide before we open up for Q&A is the process itself. So let me go into the nuances. A lot of questions were on the process. 7th of December is the deadline to apply for round one, which essentially is that you have to submit a resume. I will recommend please submit a one-pager, well-formatted resume, which has all the, all the results, the outcomes highlighted. Have a 90-second video, which has been, asked for, right? So the two things on that. The prompt essentially for the same is that what makes you the right fit for Samagra. What makes you the right fit for Samagra? So you have to introspect, really understand your key skills, your hard skills, your soft skills, and your behavioral aspects of what you want to do in life, and how does that relate with what Samagra has to offer, right? So make a 90-second video. We are very, very stringent on formatting in resume and adhering to the time in the 90-second video, right? So these are the two things that you have to submit. Then subsequent to that, we have a concept note and an org fit test, which will happen on 13th and 14th of December. You can choose one of the dates. It essentially is around where you have to create a strategy document. Right? A strategy document is to be created on a problem statement that will be given. Then there's a round 3 and round 4, which are both case-based interviews, very identical in nature, but taken by different people, right? So the idea is that so the interviews typically have two sections. The section one, about 20-25 minutes, is a governance case you could be asked about, right? We try to double click on your problem solving skills, hypothesis, creating skills, and so on and so forth. And then a lot of behavioral questions you can expect. Why Samagra? What are your strengths and weaknesses, and so on and so forth, right? And then finally, we have a closure discussion with the CEO. CEO takes personal interest in talking to everyone before making an offer, and that will happen on 10th of January as of now. So sorry. So these were all the things that I wanted to cover up front, right? Now we are open for Q&A. What we can do is, you can raise your hands, and I'll come to people who are raising their hands. But let me also quickly take up questions which we have already compiled, and would take help from Manisha to
Yeah.
answer a few of them. And Manisha, if you have some time constraint, you can drop off whenever that's the case. I and Pooja can continue if that is the case at your end, because I think the call
I
got
have
extended a
15
little bit.
minutes. Yeah, it got extended a little bit. So I do have
Perfect, perfect.
15 minutes, so you will be able to take that.
Perfect. Okay. All right, folks. So I think a couple of questions. So some thematic questions. One, so some of them I'll answer up front. Which roles are we that we have already covered? What locations? So folks, the states that we showed, right? Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Maharashtra, Odisha, UP are the states that we are currently working in. So people who get kind of hired, right? They get staffed to any of these locations. So we are not hiring for specific locations. So you don't have preference. You cannot say that I want to get hired for Mumbai, for example, or Delhi, for example, or Bhubaneswar, for example. That's not the case. You can get randomly assigned any programs. One person on a program gets staffed for 8 to 12 months. So if you're staffed to a program in Bhubaneswar, you are there for 8 to 12 months duration, right? So that's the first thing. And secondly, the programs obviously can change in due course of time. What I mean by that is that the mix of the states could change. हो सकता है in the 2 years later you're still in Samagra and a new state is unlocked and you're staffed there. So therefore there's no idea that we are hiring only for these 5 locations also. It could change as time progresses, right? Second thing is, what about freshers hiring, folks? Upfront mentioning, freshers hiring will happen in February, March. So please, do follow us on LinkedIn, and you'll get an understanding about the freshers undergrad hiring at that point of time, right? Some of you asked, yes, which constitute the largest share of your client base, state government, union government, or not for profit? I think it has been addressed. It's the government, it's the state government typically that we are working. State as the center of change, essentially. Right? Yeah. Manisha, can you take this up? What role does Samagra play in programs typically? Is it like a PMU or a technical support unit?
Yeah, it's a delivery unit. So we don't typically call ourselves just the technical support unit because we are going above and beyond the technical support also. We are doing both strategy, we're doing tech, we are also gathering domain expertise. So we like to call ourselves as delivery unit. So we decide a goal and then we deliver. So it's a plus plus version of the TSU or the PMU, which is the terminology that you would hear in the ecosystem.
Yes. So I think some of you have asked about how in depth is implementation. So Manisha, if you can talk about implementation plus our district visits construct.
How in depth is the implementation is what's been asked.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So if we take the example of Nipun in itself, the teacher training themselves is not something that we have delegated to somebody else. That's what our team is doing. So we really embed ourselves. We get all the critical inputs being delivered through our team members alongside the other officials. So that's to the level that we really go through. And how do we enable that it's happening systematically? It's through the construct of district ownerships, where we assign districts to the respective team members. And at a certain frequency and cadence, they go and visit the district and they ensure that all the inputs that we had originally planned for are happening. That's first way of doing it. The other way of doing it is even from the state level, we do the virtual reviews of the officials, right? So anything that is required to deliver on the goal is full ownership of our team as opposed to it just being delegated. So that's how we deeply entrench to the last mile implementation across the programs.
Yeah. Yeah. The next question essentially is just a second. So I think that there is a lot of question on the CTC and the salary range. So I'll address that upfront, basically, and the designation. So the minimum requirement for a senior associate and a consultant is 18 months of experience. That's the minimum threshold. Now, what designation gets offered to you is based on skill, based on previous experience, how the interviews have panned out, and all of that, right? So that will be communicated in due course of time. That's one, right? The salary range, what I can say is that it's a CTC of 16 to 22 for senior associate, and a range of 22 to 28 for consultant. And the emerging leader role, which is because the fast track journey role and an MBA required role, is a 40 LPA CTC. Typically, obviously nuances will get discussed whoever reaches to the final stages of the interviews, right? But typically 80% of the salary is our fixed component, 20% is a variable performance bonus that gets paid. So I hope that, and obviously the ranges are there because of the fact that people, it's an open recruitment drive, and based on of how things pan out, your salary will get determined, right? Yeah. So I hope that is answered that question, right? Next question is, yeah. Mm,
There are
how
a
much
lot of
travel?
questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Manisha, I'll address the travel, and then you can take up
Yeah.
the theme that you
Yeah.
talked about. So travel. So folks, it's a high travel job, right? What happens is typically you are staffed on a program location. Say, so you are stationed out of the capital city. So you're stationed out of Bhubaneswar, you're stationed out of a Kochi, you're stationed out of a Pune, you're stationed out of a Vijayawada, and so on and so forth, right? Now there are two types of travel. One travel is to Delhi because that's the base location. A lot of meetings, a lot of town halls, a lot of gurukuls, a lot of training sessions happen in Delhi, and therefore that kind of travel happens say once or twice a month, right? Compulsorily once or twice a month you can expect. Beyond that, there's at least twice a month that you go for district visits. So, say you're in Lucknow, you might be asked to go to Gorakhpur. You're in Lucknow, you might be asked to go to Jhansi, and so on and so forth. Right? Basically, the districts of that particular state, essentially. So, those kind of travel is also there, and a lot of travel to Delhi. Right? So, these are typically the kind of travel, but you can expect a lot of travel because of the work associated with the work stream that you are tasked with. Yeah. Yes, Manisha, you were talking about a set of
No, I was
questions.
just checking the questions. There were a lot of questions on the concept test and the org fit test also, if we could just
Got it. Okay, so okay, I'll take that up. So this round two, after your resume and the video round, it's shortlisted. You will be given, so on the date that you have chosen, it's either 13th of December or 14th of December at 7 p.m., which is the time we have kind of started. You'll get an email with a question. The question could be say something like, okay, the state of Kerala wants to create a Wi-Fi hotspot. Create a strategy for the same for the next 3 years. How do you enable that? So you have to create a one pager or a two pager concept note of sorts of a strategy document. And there could also be an associated work plan creation, that, okay, how do you break down a problem statement to smaller parts? And okay, from January to February, this will happen. From February to March, this will happen, something of that sort. So this is what is the concept note. Org fit is a psychometric test that will get floated. It's a very straightforward behavioral question bank that you have to answer, right? Yes. So, okay, yeah, another good question. Travel gets reimbursed. Is it part of the CTC? So, CTC is the pure and pure salary that you get. Now, beyond that, there are two, three things that happen that is taken care of by Samagra itself. One, all the travel which is firm mandated, which means that firm is asking you to travel from location to B location is covered by Samagra. So, that's beyond the CTC. Wherever you are stationed out of, say if you're stationed out of Lucknow, there's a guest house that Samagra takes care of. So your rent is completely free. You don't have to pay for any rent. Your food is free. The cook and everything is free, right? It's all taken care of by Samagra as long as you're stationed on a program location, right? The third thing, obviously, your mobile reimbursement happen every month to a tune of 1,000 rupees. That's above CTC, right? There's a 3 lakh group insurance per person that is get again above and beyond the CTC. I hope that also clears out. Therefore, typically while working at Samagra, your out-of-pocket expenditures are the minimal, right? As long as you choose to stay in the guest houses that Samagra has kind of gotten for you, right? How much time? Hmm. Any practice material for, okay, all practice material for interview and everything will be given to you over email once you get shortlisted. So once shortlist happen, the people who get shortlisted will receive those practice material and everything, right? What is the number of intake, folks? There's no number that we anytime go for hiring, right? If you are in. So we're not. There's no quota that we are trying to fulfill essentially. Okay. One question is, how does Samagra take care of its people? So Manisha, could you take that up? I think that's talking about the kind of both in terms of the learning journey, so Gurukuls and all of that, if you can cover that up. And secondly, I think in terms of just mental well-being and physical well-being as such.
Yeah, I think care is looked at holistically. First level of care is to equip you to be successful at your job. Like that's the primary level of care, and that happens through multiple things. So there is coaching and mentorship that you get from your immediate manager and your skip level manager. So if I have to just quantify, 33% of my bandwidth goes in just coaching the team members that I have. So you really get equipped through these coaching and the mentoring sessions to succeed at your job. Apart from that, at an org level also, we really create these workshops, which we call Gurukuls, which we called forums, to be able to, for you to bring out your opinion, right? So that's the equipping you with the right skills. The second level of care is creating the right support system for you. That right support system happens at the program team level, but it also happens at the org level, where we really get the pulse of what each of the team members is feeling, as a cohort is feeling. Are the program associates getting a certain feeling, and we try and address those. So while there are certain uh, things that every org will have, we also do that, which is focus on mental well-being, focus on physical well-being through collaborations with cult fit and so on. More important aspect is really just hearing your opinion out through the relevant forums, and we have these structured forums quarterly, and that's where the care also gets customized at each of the levels depending on the need. So in that sense, at both levels, at the skill level and support level, is what the firm
Yeah.
does.
Great. Thank you so much, Manisha. I'll address the question on 90-second video, and then we'll take up the raised hand questions, starting with Neil. So, folks, a lot of you asked about what to cover and how to create the video. Folks, you can simply record yourself as a selfie video, as a from a phone, from laptop, whatever, right? It's just you explaining in 90 seconds what makes you the right fit, right? That's as simple as that, right? The way to what you need to cover essentially is the kind of skills, the kind of behavioral aspects that resonate with you about Samagra, and you value add basically to the work of Samagra. That's how you have to look at it, right? So if you are a good problem solver, talk about it. If you're a good communicator, talk about it. If you have good stakeholder management, talk about it, for example, right? The other bit is how to create it. Simply upload the MP4 or whatever version of the video that you have created posted on a YouTube channel as an unlisted video, which is not publicly available. Basically publicly seen. Unlisted video, just paste the link of the unlisted video on the form that we have sent, because that's what you have to do. So we can quickly just click on the link, look at the video, and then listen you from there. As simple as that, right? I would recommend not going for a Google Drive. Use YouTube only, right? There's a reason for it, but yes, mentioning that upfront. Yes, Neil, you have raised your hand. Why don't you ask your question?
Yep. Good evening, Manisha. Good evening, Venkatesh. Thanks for this presentation and this detailed insight. My quick question is regarding the different job roles. I'm trying to understand, well, like in terms of the interview too, right? There would be a different level of maturity, which we can expect maybe for different roles which you're hiring for. That's question number one. Second thing is maybe a more maybe broader question in terms of like, though I was I joined a little late, maybe in this session. So I wanted to understand about how Samagra is doing things differently than the other big techs, right? In terms of the big fours, right, as well as the big threes in government tech. So that's the second part of the question. Thank you.
Venkatesh, do you want to take the first part and then I can take the second bit?
Yes. Can you remind me? I think lost the exact question in the first one.
So
Correct. So there are three different roles there which you are hiring for currently.
Got it.
Right?
Got it. Yeah. I remember now. Yeah. So yeah, basically, see, the interview panel is largely the same, because it's the same set of people who interview. But obviously, the benchmarks that we look for a senior associate is versus a consultant versus an emerging leader is going to be different, right? Though the skills are the same. It's problem solving, communication skills, oral articulation, right? Behavioral aspects such as organizational fit in terms of impact orientation. All of those things are there. Just the benchmarks are different, because the expectation is that a emerging leader will become a team manager within 1 year, right? And therefore the benchmark would differ, and the maturity expectation would differ for that, for sure. Yes.
Yeah, the process does not vary, but the benchmarks would vary. And the case interview also would not be made a little softer to land. It will be made equally as we would do across the roles.
Competitive and maturity, the level of maturity would be different.
Yeah. The assessment for us, as interviewer will assess you differently when we know that there is a certain experience or a certain designation that it's getting interviewed for. So that's on the first bit, Neil. And then the second bit, which you were speaking about the differentiating factor, just particularly from the tech lens. So we're not a core tech organization. So we don't create standalone products, tech products. We create products in the service of the goal of the particular program that we have picked up, right? So that's the difference, that we are not going out there and developing tech products that can be used in governance. Saying that our program needs it, and that's why we're doing it.
Yeah. So that's on the tech bit, and the other bit, which is about Big Four, essentially is that, see, typically Big Fours will work on a PMU model, which is like they'll be waiting for an RFP and a tender, and because there's a defined set of work that the government would want them to do, right? Whereas we work as a thought partner, and that is why you will see that we do not bid for the any tenders as such, right? We'll work as a thought partner. Therefore, we would want to get our hands dirty to create the strategy and the design for the state altogether from scratch, and then go into implementation. So that's the way the positioning is different for a Big Four versus a Samagra, as an example. I hope that clears it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Appreciate that. Thanks. Have a good day.
Yeah, Amritanshu, please go ahead.
Actually, ma'am, good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Actually, I have more than 3 years experience in NGO, plus 5 month experience in government NGO, whilst interacting with the senior bureaucrat like Assistant Chief Secretary (ACS). Do this provide an edge to the while applying to the Samagra? Thank you.
So Amritanshu, see, your prior experience, whatever it be, if the transferable skill is what matter. If you have solved complex problems, that is what matters. If you have worked with different stakeholders, that is what matters. Inherently, any specific type of work, be it consulting, be it development space, be it being a government officer yourself, doesn't tip the either in favor or against you, right? So we are not looking at the prior experience as the content of it, but rather as a transferable skills that you bring to the table, right? So that's what you have to understand. So therefore, I'm upfront mentioning, you might have worked in a McKinsey, you might have worked in a Deloitte, you might have worked in a Teach for India, you might have worked in a IPAC, right? You might have worked as a officer in governance yourself, right? All those things as the content per se doesn't matter to us. But what are the skills that you bring to the table? By the virtue of it would matter. And therefore, everyone from whatever domain they come from is at an equal footing, as long as the transferable skills is what you're highlighting. I hope that answers that question, Anshu.
I mean to say that I have some experience while speaking to the while delivering my communications to the government officials.
So you
I'm
can
ask,
highlight that in your video. Yes, you should highlight that in the video. Should be one of the good points on your part. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Amrita Anshu. Mala, why don't you go ahead?
Evening, everyone. Good evening, Manisha, and good evening, Venkatesh. Thank you for this opportunity. Actually, I have done my BTech and then I'll have my UPSC preparation, but somehow I have failed two, three times. So I now I transit no, want to transit to public policy role. So as a junior, I just want to know that what kind of like skill set or how I upskill myself so that I will be in better position, to get selected in Feb March because I don't have an experience right now. So like, what would you suggest if you are comfortable in answering this?
Yeah, so see, Amala, obviously being a UPSC aspirant is a good thing for you because obviously you have been through the rigor, you have a lot of worth of knowledge that you have, right? The idea essentially, see, again, the same thing. UPSC aspirant, no UPSC aspirant doesn't matter as long as you're able to do our interviews well. That's the main idea. So what you should look for is how do you interview well? How do you kind of introspect about your virtues, about your strengths, and kind of prepare for an interview typically that you do, and kind of do a case-based interview in a consulting manner. So I would recommend you to go through Victor Cheng videos to see how interviews happen for consulting, right? What is a case-based interview, right? Brainstorm on multiple aspects such as education, healthcare, agriculture, where the cases would typically be based on. So upskill yourself on the interview giving ability because that's what you might not have had an experience of, thinking about till now. Otherwise, a lot of I was a former UPSC aspirant, gave 4 attempts, went to main stage twice, thrice, right? The idea is that, yeah, but again, that either neither does it favor or does it, hold against you. As such, as long as skill-wise you are able to justify what we are looking for.
Yeah,
Right?
sir. But actually, I was stuck at that resume selection point in
Okay.
few
Okay. So
organizations. So for
got
that,
it. Got it. So
yeah.
see, I think some of you asked about resume में content क्या होना है. I'll address that also. See, basically the idea is that talk about the outcomes, right? Talk about the kind of results that you've achieved as a wherever you have worked, right? You might have worked at an NGO, you might have worked at whatever place. Talk about those things. That is what we look for essentially, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Poonam, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Venkatesh. So
Yeah.
a quick question, like how would the transition for somebody who's probably working on Nipun project, let's say, because there is also a deadline on it, like by 2027, you should be able to achieve the
Hmm.
foundation literacy and numeracy objectives, right? I'm not very literally translating it, but let's
Hmm.
assume that, after that probably there's a transition which is required in the role. How would
Hmm.
that look like for somebody who's probably coming from education background? And also, what is the sort of flexibility that Samagra offers to somebody who has like a specific domain to maybe
Got it.
transition into something like, healthcare or maybe,
Got it.
agriculture, right? Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Right. So I think addressing the second question first, see, we are domain agnostic. So today we are programmed in 7, 8 domains: healthcare, education, service delivery, agriculture, so on and so forth. Tomorrow it could be anything else, which is a priority area of government. Right. Therefore, when we are hiring journalists and people who can kind of work across different domains, and specifically people who are initially in the organization get a hands-on experience of different domains altogether. So with due course of you might have come from education background, but you might be staffed on an agriculture program as your first program, right? That's how it typically happens, so that you develop those transferable skills and a domain knowledge of different domains as you grow in the organization. What may happen in due course of time is that, say, after 7, 8 years, when you become, say, a very senior leader, you might want to take up programs as a leader of specific domains. That's something that the organization creates avenues for if required. But otherwise, the idea is that you might come from any domain, but we would want to train you into cross-functional and cross-domain areas. Right? That's on that bit. The other bit, I did not get your first question that you talk about Nipun. Can you repeat
I
that?
think it sort of answers the second part that you
Okay.
read now, question answered.
Hmm.
I think it sort of answered that part because I was basically focusing on a particular
Got it.
sector or domain now
Got it.
because you answered that. Also, a quick question. What
Yeah.
sort of technical skills would you
Yeah.
be looking
I
for?
think a lot of you asked about these things. See, there's no technical skill that we're looking at. We don't need you to know Python, R, Java, nothing of that sort is required, right? We are looking at problem solvers. We are seeing whether in a case-based interview through first principles thinking are able to solve problems, right? That's what we are looking at the core of it. Now, whatever is required in a program level, which could be say product management, which could be say creating wireframes of a application, which could be creating a website, right? Using some kind of Wix, which could be say SQL query creating, which could be database management on occasion, which could be say data interpretation using large databases, right? Metadata. All of that is what you learn on the go, and therefore having that zeal to learn, we provide that opportunity because there are people who will know, you will learn from them, and you will basically or if no one knows in the organization, there's something upfront, GPT, perplexity, all of that comes to the rescue. A lot of our tech work streams are being handled by people who are able to do very good prompt engineering, for example. So idea is that we don't expect you to come upfront with any technical expertise, but the zeal to learn them on the go wherever required. I hope that answers that question, Pura. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Yeah.
Kanika, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, first of all, for this session. It was really insightful. And yeah, so my question is more or less related to Samagra X. And though you've
Yeah.
already answered it to a lot of
Hmm.
extent, but I would
Yeah.
just want to, get it clarified.
Yeah.
So I come from a non-engineering background.
Mhm.
Though I have worked in the corporate setup and I've been closely linked with AI and the AI use cases, and
Mm.
somehow I'm pretty passionate about it. So what I want to understand is that is Samagra really helpful, or does it sort of encourage people who might not be from a technical background to still go ahead and contribute in this particular domain?
Yeah. So I think I may not remember the exact numbers, but I think ballpark figure, I think only 15 to 20% of team members in Samagra are engineers, right? Or any prior technical background, so to say, right? Everyone else is either a DO graduate or as an example, right? So basically, people may come from humanities, commerce background, and so on and so forth. So 80% of people are non-tech. They are still able to handle tech work stream because of the ability to learn and us creating those right avenues for people to upskill. So that's the idea, right? So therefore, the expectation that only technical people will be hired or will succeed is not at all true, right? Because most of us are coming from non-technical background, so to say, right? I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Yogita, go ahead. Hello.
Hello. Hello, sorry, am
Yes.
I audible?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the session. It was
Yeah.
really helpful. And sir, as a fresher, I wanted to ask a question. What does what are the requirement for what key skills, experiences, or projects are
Mm.
required in our CV for Samagra? When we apply for Samagra, what sort of CV
Yeah.
does
Okay.
Samagra look
So,
for?
okay, I addressed that partially, but okay, let me lay it out, and I'll also address the question about the roles and responsibilities of on ground for the associates. I'll address both these questions. So, in terms of the skills that we're looking for, skills we're looking for are practical problem solving skills, communication skills, impact and outcome orientation, right? We are looking for ability to learn, right? Are you open to learning? Are you open to feedback? Are you open to negative feedback? So those are the kind of behavioral traits again we look for. In the resume, we're looking at like, do you have spikes across academics, extracurriculars and work experience, right? At least one spike we require. Spike is a very subjective term, but the idea is that we look at it and we're like, wow, this is amazing, right? That's the kind of resume we're looking for, and therefore quantify everything that you do, right? Talk about the results, talk about the outcome that you've achieved at your work, talk about the kind of if you've done Bharatnatyam, talk about the years of Bharatnatyam that you've put in, because we're looking at people who have high rigor aptitude, right? We are not looking for people who just get happy with say two months of high rigor and then chill karna hai 8 months. Not the kind of work that Samagra does, right? It will require a 12 month of continuous rigor, right? So those are the kind of things that we look for in a resume. So that's on one bit. The other bit, which some of you asked, is that what is the role and responsibility? See, we mentioned that in the resume in the presentation that typically a program will have say 20 different work streams, different sub parts of the program. You as the owner of work streams will be handling complete end-to-end execution of say 3 to 4 such work streams, right? Now what that translates into are multiple things. You will be doing meetings with the IS officers to understand what their requirements are, for instance, for doing review and monitoring. You will be going on ground to do district visits to understand what the ground reality is, how the execution is happening on the ground. You will be doing problem solving, which is kind of creating a complete design and implementation roadmap for the state. You'll be you'll be creating say wireframes if an application is to be created. You'll be talking to different department officials to understand. You'll be talking to various experts to understand what the experts and academicians are saying are the right solutions. So all of this, whatever goes into creating the right strategy and then implementing, is what you do essentially, right? A lot of field work, a lot of working with the department officials, a lot of stakeholder management, and so on and so forth.
Sir, I
Right.
also wanted to know one more thing, that
Yeah.
what would be the entry level roles like for us, and
So
also
see entry level roles again. We are not. I would say that we'll be hiring that for February, March. We'll be doing another AMA then. It will be better to do that there because entry level role we're not really talking about right now. There are other nuances related to entry level roles. Associate designation hiring we'll do later. So we can you can ask us offline for the same.
okay, thank
Madhu,
you so much, sir.
yeah, Madhu, why don't you go ahead?
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. To be very honest, I have had my eye on applying for Samagra for quite some time now,
Yeah.
but something had kept on happening. So I had my questions got answered because of previous people,
Okay.
quite a
Perfect.
few. I just have one question.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know how you look at the work at Samagra expanding itself. Like, does Samagra into MEL and other kind of consulting also, along with governance, like maybe political consulting, or
Got it.
maybe um, government advisory or
Got
something?
it.
Or,
So yeah, yeah,
that is it.
I got your question. So see, the thing is, we work only with the government. We don't work with NGOs. We don't work on CSR. We don't work on philanthropy advisory. We don't work on political campaigns and all of that, constituency development, all of that. We don't work. We only work with the government, primarily the state government, on occasion the central government. That's only what we are doing, right? And therefore, the idea is whatever the state or the center government would want to do, those domains are up for grabs for us. Right? If they want to work on climate change, we'll work on climate change. If they want to work on air pollution, we'll work on air pollution. If they want to work on agriculture, we'll work on agriculture. That's the idea, right? So that's the ambit essentially is what government, state, and center wants to do is what we'll do. We don't work with district administration on small projects. We don't work with say the political for their. Those are different organizations. IPAC does that. Aspiring Minds does that. All of those are separate. We don't do that. All right.
Correct. So could
Yes.
we say that it's more like policy designing, MEL, and more on outcomes and something like that, start to end?
Yeah. So policy
Yeah.
designing, policy execution, all of that we work with. Correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yes, Ishan, go ahead.
Venkatesh, thank you for such a lovely session. My question was, as you just told, the previous work experience doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. You're on mute, Ishan.
Sorry, it's all
Yeah.
about how we translate our professional expertise into this role. So
Yeah.
like I've been in IPAC for about 3.5 years, and I was
Yeah.
working with the government of Rajasthan as a research and strategy
Yeah.
expert.
Yeah.
So I've been at a managerial level, and I've handled a team of 20-25 people also. But I don't have a proper MBA. I've been a student of mass communication. So does that make me eligible for the leadership program of Samagra, or the
Got it.
having an MBA will be there?
Got it. Got it. No, so see, for the emerging leader program, an MBA from a top tier institute is mandatory. And again, it's not only about so there are, in fact, if you look at the job description, typically we look for people who have worked at, say, McKinsey, Bain, BCG, after, say, an I'm Ahmedabad, I'm Bangalore, I'm Calcutta, or have worked as an HUL, PNG like Manisha did, right? Or have kind of started something of their own and worked, खुद का startup चलाया for 2-3 years. So very, very stringent norms in terms of emerging leader role, both in terms of the academic background as well as the work experience that you have done previously. So that's a very exclusive role that we only hire, say, every year 2-3 people for, right? So that's very and like typically if you look at, so when you go to campus, I'm Ahmedabad, I'm Bangalore, I'm Lucknow, and ISB. There are 4 campuses. We recruit for these roles. So that's the exact role that we are hiring for. So again, that has stringent norms. But for the other, that is the consultant and the senior associate roles, basically we don't have any prerequisite requirement for any MBA at all. In fact, 65% of our team members are non-MBAs, right? So therefore, you are more than welcome to apply, for those. So you apply for the roles. These are the 2 roles that you will be mostly considered for. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah, folks, we'll take maybe just one more question. I am sure that a lot of you have questions. You
Hello,
can
hello, sir.
ping us on. Yes, Sujay, you can go ahead, and then
Yes,
you can ask
yes,
questions on LinkedIn to us, right? You can add us
yes.
on LinkedIn and just ask questions there. Yes, Sujay, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for the wonderful session, sir. Actually, I'm Sujay. I'm doing an MBA from IIM Ranchi. I
Okay.
have 2 years of work ex. Like I'm eligible for senior associate and consultant.
Yeah.
Like I want to know like how Samagra treats its PWD people, especially visually impaired, sir. Because I want to know like I belong to that category.
Got it, got it. So, Sujay, I think we can take this offline. You can ping me on LinkedIn. I'll send you, because that will be very specific to you. So we'll take that up offline on LinkedIn itself, right? I'll tell you how do we address that. Is that okay? Yeah.
Fine, sir. Thank you for the
Yeah.
opportunity. I'll ping you, sir. I'll ping you.
Sure, Sujay. All right, folks. Thank you so much. I hope this was
Yeah,
helpful. And
one
any
question.
further? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. I'll take that last one and then we'll end the session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks for it's a very wonderful session, sir. Actually, my
Yeah.
name is Ram Krishna, and I'm having a career gap of around 5 years, sir. Actually, I was preparing for the UPSC exam till
Got it.
2021.
Yeah.
After that, I moved to some medtech companies, and I'm having a work experience around there 1 year. And after
Yeah.
that, I moved to Ministry of Forest and Ecology Environment. There, I worked for around 1.5 years in Karnataka government as an internship.
Okay.
Currently, now I'm working in a foundation. Actually, the my question is that is a career gap will be impacted on the CV or in
No,
interview?
I address that. See, it doesn't matter as long as a lot of people have come up and worked with us with 3-4 years of career gap. As long as apart from that they have been gainfully employed and have good things to show for in their resume. So it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm a tier two college MBA graduate, sir. Actually,
Got it. Got it. No, see, we look at the profile holistically, right? I cannot say that just that tier
okay.
two huna hai to you'll get rejected or get accepted. Idea is that what are the other factors that go into the picture, and then we shortlist or don't shortlist candidates.
And one last question, sir. Is there any limit on the number of pages for resume should have? Because many
Yeah.
people say that
One page. One
consulting
page.
resume should be
Yeah.
restricted to 1 page. Okay, okay. Yeah,
Yes, it's a
got
one
it.
page only. Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
thank you,
All
thank
right,
you.
folks. Thank you, everyone, folks. I'm really sorry. I have to head out. LinkedIn pe you can message me and I'll respond there. Don't worry. I
Venkatesh,
might
you
just
don't reply.
अभिषेक आपने कहाँ पे मैसेज किया मेरे को?
Yeah, on LinkedIn only. I just have this one quick question about the
Stop.
application part only. It is mentioned that possibility of early exit from current organization.
Yeah.
So most of the people here are pursuing their MBA, so that
Yeah.
won't be possible in this case.
So
Would that
that's okay.
matter?
नहीं, it doesn't matter. जून में ज्वाइन कर लीजिएगा आप. That's okay.
All
We'll
right.
curate it.
And
We'll curate
the
that.
1 year program will also be taken as the MBA, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, folks. Thank you, everyone.